Just do one more quick.
Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO of Digital Leadership Associates. And I've got with me today Heidi Taylor. Heidi, if you don't know, is the author of this great book, B2B Marketing Strategy. It's a book. I've read it, and it's a book for today. So it's about strategy, but in a social world. What we're going to talk about today is relevance and personalization. We seem to have this view at the moment, I think, in the market that personalization is the holy grail in marketing that we need to be driving for. And what Heidi and I are going to do is discuss that and find out, is it really the thing that we should be chasing, or is it relevance? Before we go into that, though, Heidi, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Heidi Taylor. You can find me on Twitter at TaylorMadeInQ, and under Heidi Taylor on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook if you're interested. My story, I was in the corporate world for many years. Half my career was spent in the tech industry, software and hardware, and various telecommunications services, and then half my career in professional services. And I've been a B2B marketer my entire career. About 3 years, I started my own consulting business, and I work with marketing teams and organizations to develop strategy and programs, particularly in, I call what I do B2B marketing for the social era.
And you're very much a strategic person. You're
very much.
You're not the person to phone up if you want the top, like me, if you want the top 20 tips for Instagram. We're not the people to talk to.
That's right.
And stuff. Okay, so and you know, your book very much positions you as that, and I like the way was that that you bring in social. There's too many, you know, I remember reading In Search of Excellence 20 years ago, and it's probably still relevant. But, you know, it's things have moved on a lot, and we need to look at what we're doing in terms of marketing, hence the reason why we're here today. So go on.
I was just going to say, we live in a fundamentally digital world, so everything needs to come from that perspective. And our B2B marketing strategy has to take that into account. And we need to come from through a different lens.
And just to say that you went on a fantastic holiday recently to Australia, and you actually set up some at least an Instagram account with your photography, and it's well worth checking out your pictures of Ayers Rock and all the things that you did when you were in Australia.
Yeah, that was fabulous. You can find me there at Heidi in Transit.
Good. So, relevance and personalization. I saw a LinkedIn discussion going on about relevance and personalization, which you were actively involved in, and it was a subject that suddenly, you know, because I, like everybody else, have kind of believed the hype that, you know, this is the personalization, because I hate being cold called and I hate being cold emailed, especially when people seem to talk to you about things that are completely irrelevant. But at least they get my name right as Tim, rather than Tom or something like that. But you were basically diving in and you were challenging this, which is great. So what is it that what do you see, you know, as the difference between relevance and personalization? Can you define those two things?
So let's start with a definition. Like I usually do, I went to the Oxford English Dictionary to see how they defined the two words, because how we use words, the language we use, impacts the way we think as well as behave. So interestingly, the Oxford Dictionary defines relevance as the quality or state of being closely connected or appropriate. They define personalization as designing or producing something to meet someone's individual requirements. In other words, customization. Now, in the context of sales and marketing, I find this really interesting because I don't believe our customers actually want personalization. I think relevance beats personalization every single time. And there's a fine line here because, from a marketing perspective, the reality, as you've just indicated, is they'll get your name right. We will get all these emails that say, Dear Tim, hi Heidi, and then an email that has nothing to do with our business or our interests or anything that we can relate to. And so, delete, delete, delete. It's for me what personalization has become in marketing is in essence cold calling, but with a first name. I just want to give you a definition that I found in the consumer world. I actually tried to find out, I did a big web search on how we in marketing define personalization, because I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out what that actually means. I couldn't find anything in the B2B world about it, but I found this from the consumer world. Listen to this. Personalization is a means of meeting the customer's needs more effectively and efficiently, making interactions faster and easier, and consequently increasing customer satisfaction and the likelihood of repeat visits.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a marketer and I look at that, and to me, that's marketing babble.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I don't know. There's a lot of it about.
Yeah, there's a lot of it about. And this is the issue that I have with the term personalization, because everybody talks about it as if it is the holy grail of marketing. And as I said, the words we use impact how we behave. And in B2B, sure, we want to be able to approach our customers and use their names, but we also want to make sure that we are relevant to them. And that's why I think the challenge in B2B is not so much personalization as relevance.
Everybody that I've spoken to in the lead up to this video, when I've asked them the question, what do they prefer? Do they prefer relevance or do they prefer personalization? Everybody has said relevance.
Oh, without a doubt. And that I think it's within the marketing bubble that we latch on to these terms because they get a lot of hype through the marketing media. And I have a real issue with this, because if we're going to be effective sales and marketers, we have to be relevant above all to our customers.
Yes.
And that is where I think we should be focusing our attention.
And do you have any experience of this, Heidi?
I was going to say, I can give you tons of examples. So here's an example that your sales audience will probably relate to quite a lot. This was in the professional services realm, but there was a very, very big pitch that the sales team was doing with a customer that they'd worked with before quite successfully. And they had what they thought was exactly what the customer wanted, a great solution to what the customer need was. Went in, did the pitch, thought, wow, this is fantastic, we nailed it. They came second. So second is losing.
It's last, yeah.
Second is last. Yeah. So they didn't win the work, and they went back, as they did, to do a debrief. What was it about it that didn't work for you? And the customer said, well, you didn't actually answer our brief. you didn't give us what we asked for. Now, this salesperson turned to me and said, not in front of the client, but turned to me and said, well, what they were asking for wasn't going to solve their problem. Now, that doesn't matter. What matters is that the sales team had neglected to do the work up front to engage with the customer appropriately, understand where they were in their journey, wherever it was, and bring them along towards the solution that would solve their problem.
Yes.
Because by not understanding what was going to be relevant to that customer at that moment in time, they lost the pitch. On the plus, now on a positive side, there was a pitch where a very large pitch again, where the team won the work, and afterwards the client said, well, the key differentiator was a particular marketing program around the issues that were being faced in the marketplace. And the client said, that was exactly what we're facing. It spoke to us directly. You could have been talking to me. That's relevance.
Yes. And so when we talk about, I mean, what do you think, we actually mean when we talk about personalization?
That's a very good question. I suspect that marketers this is part of the real challenge. I don't think marketers really understand what they mean, because the reality is it is very, very difficult, unless you are running a very focused account-based marketing program, to design a specific product or a specific solution for that individual customer need. Our businesses, we like repeatable solutions. We sell products that we can probably tailor to a customer. But the reality is, if we customized everything for every single customer, that's costly, time consuming, and very, very, as I said, very, very expensive.
I think often that we approach marketing and do a cookie cutter for everything. So if you think about there's, and pardon the sweeping generalization, but you can either contact one person one-to-one, you can contact a group of people, so maybe 2, 3, 5. And of those, you could class within an account-based marketing type thing. Or you could have 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, which is one-to-many. And I think quite often people apply, they'll either apply a 1 to 1,000 approach to a 1-to-1 engagement, or a 1-to-1 approach to a 1 to 1,000 engagement.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think marketing has historically been very, very good at this one-to-many. But the social era has opened up an entire cupboard of tools and platforms that we can use to narrow that down, to understand our customers better, to understand what's relevant to them, and quite easily bring that down to a one-to-one approach. I mean, obviously, a pitch, if you're doing a pitch for a piece of work, then that is, especially if it's a very large piece of work, then you can customize that for that one pitch. But again, this is costly in terms of time, etc. So you have to be very, very, selective about which kinds of work you're going to actually pitch for. Marketing is at least in the B2B world, is still really getting to grips with how to use social media to engage with customers. We tend to, again, sweeping generalization, there's lots of organizations that are probably doing this quite well, but I see time and time again how marketing is using the same approaches and just pushing out the same material, but just through these channels.
Yeah, and we see it a lot where the days of push or broadcast or general corporate marketing, where people say we're the best or we're number one, or we're the biggest in Q, or whatever, whatever the marketing is, it's just noise, and we just don't accept that anymore.
No, bigger, better, faster, cheaper is just no longer a reason to buy anymore.
No,
it's not. We're living in a commoditized world, and we have to find a way to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. And the best way that we can do that is to be more relevant. It's not about personalization, at least from a marketing perspective. Again, it's, as consumers, we see all these little adverts that creepily follow us around on the web. And we don't want to stalk our B2B customers, but if we do the work up front to engage with them and understand what's important, then, when we do come knocking on the door, we will have much more credibility. And I'll give you another example.
Yes.
So there was a time when our sales team was trying to get in front of this very important CEO and influencer in the marketplace. And he basically was saying, I don't want to talk to you. You don't understand my issues. Go away. Well, we did a program. It wasn't necessarily specifically for him, but it was around the issues that we believed he was facing, because we wanted to show him that we did understand. So we did a combination. And this is the thing about marketing. We live in a social world, a digital world, but we still need to integrate the so-called traditional and new. Face-to-face is still very important. Relationships are important. So we started this whole program around social media. We found out where he spent his time. We didn't stalk him, but we saw where he was, engaged with him through there, and then on top of that, did a series of roundtables about the issues. He saw this on with all our social interaction, what we were doing with our roundtables around these issues, and he says, "Oh, I'd like to attend." And he came to one of the roundtables, and afterwards he says, "Wow, you do understand my issues. Let's have a conversation."
Yeah, and I think that, with a clever use of content and sharing that content, we talk about personal brand, we talk about growing a network, we talk about using content, but you can influence people and have a relationship with a person by sharing interesting, insightful, and educational content. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform for you to nurture people.
I love it.
And okay, that won't be relevant to everybody, but what you're trying to do is you're going to be accessing people in a very small slice within your network. So today's post may not be relevant to all your 10,000 contacts, but it may be relevant to the 200 or even the 2 people that you want to get hold of. We use a product called Passel as a way of creating blocks, and they position themselves as an expert to expert platform. They were talking to a big 4 organization, and they sat in front of the partner, and the partner said, "Yes, I want to reach thousands of people." And they said, "Really? You know, like, well, actually, I've only got 4 accounts. Right. So it may be 1,000 people, but they're only all in 4 accounts. So, and then when you actually narrow it down, it's actually only a couple of people per account. I know that then becomes into an account-based marketing type view on the world. But yeah, quite often I think, you know, we're back to this. We think that what we want to do is actually boil the ocean, but we don't. We actually only need to target 1 or 2 people.
What's interesting about that is I absolutely believe that our only real differentiators at this point in time are our people, the way that we think, and being able to demonstrate how we think through, for example, LinkedIn, with the content we share, the things that we comment on. Just that simple activity engenders trust, engenders credibility, and I think is more valuable than just about anything we might do.
I totally agree. The only thing that an organization has to differentiate itself is its people. And what do we have? We're an accumulation of all of our experiences. And you know, it's this thing where, you know, I talk to people about how, you know, you're a particular person in a meeting, okay, but outside you're gregarious and you're interesting and you're talking about this and that, and you go into a meeting and then you change into a different person. What we want is that person that we engage with outside, because that's the person we trust, that's the person that we build the relationship with. And that's what you've got to be on social, and it's really hard.
It's about being yourself, but with purpose. And the purpose is about engaging with customers. I do want to give you another example.
Please, yeah.
Just the power of LinkedIn and how behaviors are changing, because there was, and I heard this story after the fact, and this wasn't that long ago. So a salesperson was waiting for a particular tender that they knew was coming. And they were waiting and waiting for it, and they knew roughly about the time period, but they were waiting. They hadn't seen it or received it. And they rang up the tendering organization and said, what's going on with this? And they said, oh, well, we tendered through LinkedIn this time. And we went to your profile, and you didn't appear to have any experience or expertise in this area. So we just didn't bother to send you the tender. And so they were on LinkedIn, but all it said was their organization and their job title, very senior, as if that's all you need to come to me. It was extraordinary. And this person came to me and said, Heidi, I've got to get onto LinkedIn. Help me. I know it's extraordinary. This was not that long ago.
Yeah, well, we had a story where there was somebody and they'd been cold calling this organization for 6 months, and the person sort of said actually they were going to come out to tender, and they did something similar, which is that they went to all the LinkedIn profiles of all the people that have been cold calling them, and they went to this particular individuals, and they said there's nothing on there that's relevant to us.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
And you know, if there's nothing relevant, then obviously you don't have something that's irrelevant. It's a two-way street, you know.
And I think LinkedIn is the first place people go now for anything. If you're going to be doing business with someone, if you meet somebody at a networking event and you get a business card, sort of old-fashioned, but people still do. I still do.
I like business cards.
Yeah, I like business cards too. The first thing I do is look them up on LinkedIn.
Of course.
Connect or not.
You know, LinkedIn, you know, I still get comments on LinkedIn discussions that people saying that their customers are on LinkedIn. I do not believe it. I think that what I've found with GDPR is that I'm now getting more spam through in-mails than I do on emails. And I think there's a lot of people that see LinkedIn is, I'm not at the forefront of it. I'm going to take a back seat, and I may be on there, but I'm not, hey, everybody, I'm posting everything every day, but they are on there.
Not
it's
enough to just be on there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our SAS. So for people outside of the UK, that's like the equivalent of our special forces.
Yes,
are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hadn't realized.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that there's a whole presentation I can give about how the military use. So whenever the military, it's not really part of this, but whenever the military, the UK or whatever, go into a particular country to whoever it is, the first thing they do is social. Before the boots hit the ground, the first thing that you can do is actually influence the situation through social, because everybody's on there. Anyway, and it's relevance and there's personalization. So I digress, but in terms of, I think that this thing about personalization is, I think we're being sold something that we don't need.
I would agree.
I suspect it's because someone's got a product that allows you to do this, and they want you to buy it, and we don't need it. And I like if someone takes the time to write to me direct, and not use one of these influencer templates that people keep using, because I just delete all those. If they write to you, yes, they have to personalize it. And I get people saying, hey, I really love that article that you wrote on human resources. And I wrote back, I didn't write any article on human resources. I don't write on that subject.
I know that happens to me too. Yeah. I've seen things like, oh, dear Heidi, I've seen that you're interested in whatever, and it has nothing to do with me. And I just kind of, I would agree with you around personalization. And this is, I wish we would stop using the term, because in practice, it doesn't get us closer to what matters to our customers. And I always ask one particular question. The why question is a big question for me. Why are we doing this? Why does it matter?
That really, really good advice, Heidi. Thank you. Fantastic. Remind everybody where they can get hold of you. And I'm going to put the book up.
Thank you. Well, I am on LinkedIn. I believe it's Heidi Taylor 1, all one word with the numeral, the number 1. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Taylor Made in Kew, as in Kew Gardens. And you can also find me on Instagram at Heidi in Transit, which is my travel photography. That's just a fun side thing that I do.
So I'm going to spell some of these things for people, because so Heidi is Heidi, and Taylor is Taylor, and Q is spelled Kew. In case you're not a Londoner like Heidi and I are.
Yes. Correct.
Heidi, thank you so much. As I said to you at the beginning, it goes very, very quickly. And we're at 28 minutes already, so we've whizzed through it. Thank you so much today for talking about relevance and personalization, and hopefully we can add something to the debate out there.
I hope so, because it's important to keep this discussion going so that sales and marketing work more closely together and do what's right for our customers at the end of the day.
Yes. Heidi, thank you so much, and have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.